What's going on, you guys? It is your boy, the American F1 fan, Eric Ringel here, and today we are going to analyze some of the race highlights from the French Grand Prix today. It was, I'm not going to lie, it was kind of a snooze fest for the most part. We did get some good highlights from Carlos Sainz as he moved himself from the back of the grid in 20th position all the way up to 5th place. Fantastic race by him, but to be honest with you, there weren't a lot of massive highlights like we've typically gotten out of other races this season. And the French Grand Prix typically doesn't give us too much, but we are going to react to the highlights of the race so far put out by F1, and we're going to analyze some of the bits and pieces here and just talk about the race in general. So let's get on into the race highlights for the French Grand Prix in 3, 2, 1. Oh, before we start, I have turned the audio down for the most part, unless there's any radio broadcasts that I want to share. I'm going to keep the audio down just so that we can react without hearing, Crofty and all them talk about stuff. So we'll analyze it ourselves. So here we go. 3, 2, 1, go. So I think this was a massively great start to the race for Charles Leclerc, able to stay ahead of Max. I'm a little questionable on some moves in the back of the pack there. As you can see, Alexander Albon going basically off track. But Charles does a great job getting ahead of Max here. And, just absolutely stays in front of him. Doesn't give him any wiggle room to, potentially sneak it down the inside. Just great race start here by Charles. And as the laps went on, it was just Max having to follow behind Charles like Charles just did. Such a great job of defending the his first place position in this race. Able to position himself in the right ways, able to position themselves on the right parts of the track to just keep Max behind him. And I think you could kind of tell that was getting to Max as Max's tires started to go off as the first 16 laps counted down there. And then you see Esteban Ocon I don't get it. If the FIA is going to penalize Esteban there for that move, I don't understand how it's only a 5-second penalty on, Yuki Tsunoda. Takes out Yuki Tsunoda, puts him down in the dead last. Esteban tries an audacious move there and I think really screwed Yuki there, as Yuki was having a really good start to his race as well. So as we moving on to lap 6, this, I think, was the best opportunity for Max, I think, out of the first, 20% of the race. This was, I think, his best shot right here. And Leclerc was able to just position himself again right, and he was so much faster in some of these lower speed downforce sections. Now, here's, I think, where some of my analysis is. So great, Verstappen's going to come into the pits and attempt an undercut. So now obviously Ferrari has got to see this and say, because at this point the only two cars to have pit so far were Magnussen and Mick Schumacher. They had both pitted off of their medium tires. I believe it was lap 11 or so, and you could actually see that they were picking up so much more speed. So the undercut was going to be massive here. You lose 27 seconds in the pits, but the undercut was going to be magic. So here's Verstappen going into the pits on lap 16. Great pit stop by Red Bull, as always. Red Bull is just one of the standard bearers when it comes to, pit stops. 2.4 seconds. Now, we are on lap 18, 2 laps later. Charles is still not pit after Max made his stop. Now remember, I told you, the average pit stop you lose 27 seconds. So you would think that the very next lap, Ferrari would then bring in Charles Leclerc, switch him onto the mediums. You may get lucky, you may get right out ahead of Max. If not, you're right behind him and you're going to be able to pass him. You're on 1 lap newer tires. But as you can see here at the bottom, he's 27 seconds ahead, and then tragedy strikes Ferrari and Charles Leclerc. We're going to go ahead and up the audio here.
Push in clean air, and who's that gone off?
Leclerc. And look after these tires.
Charles Leclerc is out of the race, and for the third time.
You hear Ferrari going, look after the tires. He's already in the barrier. I'm sure that was a late radio transmission, but oh man, spins himself right into the tire barriers.
This season, Charles Leclerc, when leading a race,
and it's just heartbreaking to hear
to finish it.
Here, I think we're going to hear the audio of what he.
I'm surprised he wasn't
but
able
it was just so heartbreaking to hear Charles on the radio after this crash.
Julian's obviously been stuck under the.
So we're going to see it again. Just lost the back end.
Old school track.
I don't understand what Ferrari's thinking was, leaving him out there 2 extra laps when you could clearly see that an undercut was going to be the right strategy call for Max, and he was going to probably put himself up in the first place. I feel like you should have pit Leclerc the very next lap, and they don't do it. And that's mistake number 1 by Mattia Binotto.
Especially when you've got that grippy runoff here.
Are you okay?
I cannot get throttle.
No!
Just so, oh my God, just so heartbreaking to hear him, screaming no as he crashes there, and just, couldn't get it back in the reverse because it looked like he didn't cause too much damage and could have maybe, had a damage limitation race where, maybe he could have, gone back up to the points and not lost so much there. But then, obviously, everybody comes in as the safety car. Turn this back down. As you can see now, everybody's pulling into the pits. And then you see the unsafe pit release there by Carlos Sainz, and this got him eventually the 5-second penalty that he got, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in regards to Ferrari's strategy. But everybody comes into the pits. The only 2 people that this hurts the absolute most, and it was heartbreaking for me, were the Haas boys and Mick Schumacher and Kevin Magnussen. They pulled into the pits, and oh my God, just having a safety car come out, everybody gets a free pit stop. I really think this hampered their race because it was really looking like that they could, with that pit stop and the undercut, that they were going to be able to get, potentially up into the points today, maybe, just maybe, have a double points finish, but not to be today. So, as you see there, Carlos, way unsafe release. McLaren mechanic almost gets hit. Great restart here by Max Verstappen after the safety car. Was able to get a really good gap on Hamilton, and you can just see the difference between Red Bull and Mercedes and just how much more speed the Red Bull has over the Mercedes. As soon as the Red Bull pulled away, Lewis Hamilton had no answer here. And as you can see here, Carlos Sainz just carving up traffic left and right. Carlos Sainz then getting past George Russell here. Great move on the outside here. In such a high-speed area. Carlos Sainz was absolutely bolting at lap 30. But he also knows that he's getting a 5-second penalty. I believe he's notified here. Either he was notified or he's going to be notified very soon that he's got a 5-second penalty coming his way. So he's got a 5-second penalty on his way. I don't understand why Ferrari doesn't pit him much sooner to serve that penalty, either put him on another set of mediums or maybe put him on a set of softs and have him go to the end on those tires. But then we're going to see. Let's see if we get the audio here of this.
Catch him again with some excellent corner.
There was some talk of whether or not he should come into the pits now or if he should just stay out. And then we get what I believe is the radio message we're going to see here just barely soon.
Very, very tough to stay behind
just
the car.
Fighting Sergio Perez tooth and nail. Got a really great run off that second to last corner.
Going into the final turn, I wonder. Oh, around the penultimate corner on the outside. Sainz is trying everything.
Box, Carlos, box.
Why are you telling him to box, Mattia? Why are you boxing Carlos Sainz literally with 11 laps to go? You've gone this far. You've got a 5-second penalty. If you went with basically 12 laps to go, why are you then wanting him to pit while he's fighting Sergio Perez? This is such... And if you saw my little short video I put out right after the race, this race right here is the reason why Matteo Binotto should be fired by tomorrow. He has absolutely cost this team more wins, better positions. Over the years, he has just absolutely ruined races of Ferrari drivers. I mean, we've seen it in the past with Sebastian Vettel, and now we're seeing it with Charles Leclerc, and now Carlos Sainz. Like, it's just time. Matteo Binotto needs to go. Like, before he costs Ferrari a Constructors' Championship this year or the World Drivers' Championship, which we're really close at this point with the point totals that we've got. So, Carlos tells him no.
Were they not watching the action? Carlos Sainz.
Like, it's amazing to me that they were calling for him to pit while he's fighting Sergio Perez for that position there. Like, Binotto just amazes me. And here's George Russell going to the inside, pushed Perez and forced him basically off track there. And George Russell was just livid on the radio, trying to get them to give him a penalty for that move. Like, I just don't get it. Like, you're the one that made that move. You were not, to the side of him when you went in that corner. You got in there real deep. You forced Sergio Perez off track, not the other way around here. So I'm glad the FIA didn't give him a penalty here. And then Sergio Perez comes back on track, and he was ahead of Carlos for a moment. And then this, with 11 laps to go, you pit Carlos Sainz knowing he's got a 5-second penalty. You might as well have left him out the entire race, seen if he could have gotten, maybe that gap he could have gotten the 5 seconds on Perez, and then the penalty becomes pointless. Like, you've got to try something, especially when you're in the World Constructors' Championship fight. You've got to try something because Max is going to get a good result. Sergio's going to get a decent result here. Like, there's no reason you guys shouldn't have left him out and let him try to go the last, 12 laps without having to pit. So, see him here sitting stationary, no work being done. It's so heartbreaking for Sainz because I think he definitely had one of the best runs of the day, deserved driver of the day. And then you see Guan Yu Zhou here retiring with about 5 laps to go, brought out the virtual safety car. And then this is the next interesting part to this race. George Russell pulls an amazing, just really deep-thoughted move here. He drops way behind Sergio Perez under the virtual safety car, and then he picks back up his speed, and Sergio, when this virtual safety car ends and it goes green, Sergio was just absolutely napping, and George Russell was able to make the pass to get to a Mercedes 2-3 on the podium. Absolutely great job there by George Russell catching Sergio Perez napping. But today was Max Verstappen's day. And we don't know what could have been had Charles Leclerc not been pit sooner. But Max Verstappen does win this race. Got to question, though, what would have happened had Leclerc not had to retire from this race, as it looked like Leclerc was doing such a great job with defending his position against Max Verstappen. Great result for Mercedes here. Hamilton 2, Russell 3. Not necessarily one of those. I still question on whether Mercedes is back. They're not faster than Ferrari or Red Bull, but they're slowly working there. And then for the last points-paying position, Sebastian and Lance Stroll. Great fight there at the very end. There are people on social media that are just losing their minds right now that Vettel would pull such a move on Stroll. But here's your top 10. You got Max Verstappen, Lewis Hamilton, George Russell, your top 3. Then you have Sergio Perez. Carlos Sainz fights back to 5th. I mean, what could have been? He potentially could have been on the podium there. We'll never know. Fernando Alonso in 6th, Lando Norris in 7th, Esteban Ocon in 8th, Daniel Ricciardo, great run in 9th, Lance Stroll with the last points-paying position in 10th. And then we'll move on to the I don't understand what Ferrari's strategy calls are. What's going on there? There needs to be some kind of massive discussion within Ferrari about Mattia Binotto. But guys, let me know what you thought of the French Grand Prix in the comments section down below. Do you think Mattia Binotto needs to be canned from Ferrari? Let me know that in the comments section down below, guys. Slap a like on this video for more daily and weekly Formula One content, as we're putting out content all the time, putting out reaction videos. Guys, also, subscribe to the channel if you guys are new for that more daily and weekly Formula One content, more reaction videos. We got the summer break coming up. We've got to quench our Formula One thirst some way, and I'm going to do it with all the videos I'm going to be putting out. But guys, for the American F1 fan, I'm Eric Ringel, signing off.